July 23, 1943. Royal Aircraft Establishment, Farnborough, Southern England. Technical Sergeant Robert Clayton, a veteran of the RAF's Technical Intelligence Service, stands in the hangars of Britain's most secretive aviation research facility. Before him sits a captured enemy machine that has haunted the nightmares of Allied airmen for 2 years, a Focke-Wulf 190. What Clayton is about to uncover inside the cowling of this beast will leave him completely baffled. For the first 2 years of the air war over Western Europe, the Royal Air Force believed they held the technological edge. But that illusion was shattered by a single German airframe that fundamentally shifted the balance of power in the skies. To the RAF, the FW-190 was not simply a fighter plane, it was a terrifying revolution that forced Allied High Command to rethink every aspect of their aerial doctrine. The Butcher Bird, as it would soon be known, first appeared in combat in August 1941 over the English Channel. British pilots flying the Supermarine Spitfire, until that moment, the undisputed masters of the European theatre, returned to base with reports that seemed technically impossible. They spoke of a German fighter that outperformed them in speed, in raw firepower, in structural resilience, and in diving capacity. Lieutenant General Adolf Gorland, the commander of the Luftwaffe's fighter arm, had flown the FW-190 for the first time in May 1941. His assessment was blunt, a lethal boast that soon reached Allied ears: it is like switching from a Volkswagen to a Porsche. For the British, the FW-190 turned the average German pilot into an ace. And the intelligence data retrieved by the RAF was chilling. Powered by the radial BMW 801 engine, a 14-cylinder monster producing 1,700 horsepower, the FW-190 could reach 685 km per hour at an altitude of 6,000 meters. Its armament was devastatingly efficient: 4 machine guns, including 2 mg 17s, 7.92 mm, and 2 mg 151-20 cannons mounted in the wing roots. Some variants even added 2 additional cannons in the outer wings. But for the analysts at Farnborough, the true superiority of the FW-190 lay not in the brute numbers, but in a hidden engineering secret that the Allies failed to comprehend until they captured one intact. The breakthrough came in June 1942, delivered by a stroke of extraordinary fortune. During a combat mission over the French coast, Oberleutnant Armin Faber of Jagdgeschwader II committed a fatal navigational error. After an intense dogfight with British Spitfires, disoriented and running low on fuel, Faber mistook the Bristol Channel for the English Channel. He flew in the complete opposite direction of safety and landed his FW-190A3, in pristine condition, at the RAF Pembrey Air Base in Wales, believing he was in occupied France. The capture of Faber's FW-190 was immediately classified as a war secret of maximum priority. The aircraft was transported under heavy armed guard to Farnborough, the nerve center of RAF technical evaluation. Group Captain Eric Brown, the RAF's chief test pilot and a man of unparalleled skill, became the first Briton to take the controls of the captured FW-190. His preliminary report sent a wave of anxiety through the Air Ministry. The controls were extraordinarily light and precise. The visibility was excellent. The engine response was instantaneous. Brown's conclusion was stark: this aircraft is superior to the Spitfire Mark V in virtually every aspect. Over the following weeks, Captain Brown flew the FW-190 on 47 separate test missions, pushing the enemy machine to its limits. Each flight revealed new advantages in the German design. However, it was Technical Sergeant Robert Clayton, a senior mechanic with 12 years of experience stripping down radial engines, who was tasked with the forensic investigation of the power plant. It was Clayton who would uncover the most critical secret. Clayton had spent his career working on Wright Cyclones and Pratt & Whitney engines. He knew every component, every system, and every limitation of conventional radial engines. When he began to disassemble the BMW 801 of the captured fighter, he expected to find advanced, yet recognizable technology. Instead, he found a piece of engineering that contradicted everything the RAF knew about combat engine design. The fuel injection system of the BMW 801 was completely automatic. It required absolutely no intervention from the pilot. Deep within the engine, Clayton discovered a mechanical device labeled the Commandajurat, literally, the command device. It was a mechanical brain that simultaneously controlled the fuel mixture, the ignition timing, the supercharger pressure, and the propeller pitch regulation. Clayton disassembled the Commandajurat piece by piece, treating it with the caution of a bomb disposal expert. It was a masterpiece of precision mechanical engineering. He catalogued 72 individual components working in perfect synchronization: cams, springs, valves, and diaphragms, all connected through a complex system of rods and levers that processed information regarding temperature, air pressure, and engine RPM. The implications were staggering. The pilot of the FW-190 had only a single power control lever. He moved it forward for more power, he moved it backward for less. The Commandajurat did everything else automatically. This was not simply a convenience for the Luftwaffe, it was a decisive tactical advantage. In a Spitfire or AP-51 Mustang, an Allied pilot was forced to manually manage multiple controls during the heat of combat. They had to adjust the fuel mixture lever, the propeller pitch lever, the supercharger control, and the radiator flaps for engine cooling. An Allied pilot in an intense dogfight had to split his attention between the enemy trying to kill him and the management of his own engine. A mistake in the fuel mixture could choke the engine. A mistake in the propeller pitch could over-rev and destroy the engine in seconds. A mistake in temperature management could cause catastrophic failure. The pilot of the FW-190, however, simply moved one lever and focused entirely on destroying the enemy. Clayton documented every detail of the system, precise measurements, technical diagrams, and photographs of every component. His report was stamped Most Secret and distributed immediately to Rolls-Royce, Bristol, and every major Allied engine manufacturer. But discovering the secret and replicating it proved to be two completely different challenges. The German Commandajurat was the result of over 5 years of development by BMW's finest mechanical engineers. The Allies attempted to create their own versions, but the early prototypes failed miserably. The mechanisms were too complex, too prone to failure, and far too expensive to mass-produce in the middle of a war. Meanwhile, the FW-190 continued to dominate the European skies. During the daylight bombing raids over Germany in 1943, American B-17s and B-24s faced waves of FW-190s equipped with rockets and 30mm cannons. The losses were devastating. German pilots described the FW-190 as the workhorse of the Luftwaffe. It was stable, predictable, and lethal. An average pilot in an FW-190 could engage a superior pilot in a Spitfire and have a genuine chance of victory, simply because the machine did the thinking for him. The Allied response eventually arrived in two forms. First, the introduction of new fighters designed specifically to counter the FW-190 threat. The British Hawker Tempest and the American P-51D Mustang, powered by the legendary Rolls-Royce Merlin, finally equaled or surpassed the FW-190 in most performance metrics. Second, the gradual adoption of more automated engine management systems. While not as advanced as the German Commandajurat, they were significantly better than the manual controls of early Allied fighters. Rolls-Royce developed an automatic mixture control system for later versions of the Merlin engine. Pratt & Whitney implemented automatic supercharger controls in the R2800 engine that equipped the P-47 Thunderbolt. These systems lacked the sophistication of the BMW design, but they significantly reduced the pilot's workload. Aviation historian Richard Smith noted after the war that the Commandajurat of the BMW 801 represented a fundamentally different design philosophy. The German engineers understood early on that modern air warfare required the pilot to concentrate on tactics, not on being a flight engineer. The Allies eventually adopted this philosophy, but they were playing catch-up. The FW-190 itself continued to evolve throughout the conflict. The high-altitude version, the FW-190D9, known as the Dora by its pilots, was equipped with the liquid-cooled Junkers Jumo 213 inline engine. It was considered by many Allied aviators to be the finest piston-engine fighter produced by any nation during the war. Lieutenant Colonel John Meyer, an American P-51 ace who faced the FW-190 over Germany in early 1945, declared, The Dora was fast, deadly, and flown by desperate professionals. Every combat against them was a serious affair. By the end of the war, Germany had produced over 20,000 FW-190s in all its variants. They served as air superiority fighters, fighter bombers, night fighters, and bomber destroyers. They operated on every front, from the scorching deserts of North Africa to the freezing Soviet Arctic. Technical Sergeant Robert Clayton, the mechanic who dismantled that first captured FW-190 at Farnborough and revealed its secrets, continued to work in technical intelligence throughout the war. Post-war, his expertise was so valued that he was recruited by Rolls-Royce, where he applied the knowledge gained from the German Commanderjurat to the development of fuel control systems for Britain's first jet engines. The original BMW 801, with its revolutionary command device, was never directly surpassed by an equivalent Allied mechanical system during the war. It was simply swept from the skies by overwhelming numbers of enemy fighters with engines that were good enough and pilots who were brave enough to press the attack. Sometimes, the best technology does not win the war, but it always changes how future wars are fought. The legacy of the Commanderjurat lives on in the full authority digital engine control, FADEC, systems of every modern military aircraft, from the F-15 to the F-35. Today, no combat pilot manually manages fuel mixture or propeller pitch. They all focus on tactics. The engineers at BMW understood this in 1939, the Allies learned it the hard way in 1942, and the aviation industry never looked back. What is your take on this revolutionary piece of technology? Did you know the crucial role this automatic system played in making the FW-190 one of the most lethal fighters of the war? Leave us a comment and subscribe to the channel. Every week, we bring you verified technical histories and fascinating stories that changed the course of military history. Activate the bell icon so you don't miss a single episode. World War II was decided as much by engineering as by valor, and we are revealing both aspects, one story